Hi writers, welcome back. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Today I want to teach you how to take a closer look at complete and compound sentences. Whenever we're writing, we want to make sure that we are communicating as clearly as possible to our reader. And so we want to make sure that we've got complete sentences, and we want to make sure that if we're looking at our sentence length for a variety of sentences, if we combine them, we might need to make a compound sentence. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So first, before we work on combining sentences, let's review what actually makes a complete sentence on its own. So the most simple sentence needs to have at least two things: a subject and a verb. So a subject answers the question who or what. Who or what does or is something. And then the verb answers the question, what are they or what did they do? So who is it, what is it, and what are they doing, that action. So we just have to have those two parts to make a complete sentence. So let's read the sentence below, and I want you to think about the meaning. What is the sentence telling us, and what do you see in your mind? It's just a little old house full of books, and Miss Franny is in charge of them all. So, what did you notice about this sentence? Think, which moves did the author make to communicate their idea clearly to the reader? So, I invite you to say out loud or write down what you notice. So you might say, I notice a period at the end of the sentence. This tells the reader that it's the end of the sentence and to stop. So give that a try. Pause the video if you need to. What do you notice about the sentence? Okay, writers, did you find some observations? What are some things you noticed? I noticed that Miss Franny, the name of the person, starts with 2 capital letters to show that it's a proper noun. I noticed here that we have a contraction combining the words it is to say its, using an apostrophe there. I noticed that they have a comma here, and it is almost like they're combining 2 shorter sentences with the word and a comma. So can you see how the writer chose the pattern of combining 2 complete sentences? Take a look at that sentence. Can you find the 2 complete sentences that are combined? So here's our first one. It's just a little old house full of books. So who or what is it talking about? The house. And what is the house doing? What's that verb? It's full of books. Okay, let's look at the next one. Miss Franny is in charge of them all. So who or what is the sentence about? Miss Franny. And what is she doing? She is in charge. Okay. So how did the writer combine both of the sentences? Can you find which piece of punctuation they used? How about a conjunction? Side note, a conjunction connects words and ideas. Examples of conjunctions are the words and, or, but. Sometimes conjunctions are known as fanboys. So can you find the conjunction in the sentence below? There it is, the word and. So how did the writer combine the sentences? They took 2 complete sentences and they combined them by putting a comma and then one of our fanboys, our conjunction and. So then it reads, it's just a little old house full of books, comma, and Miss Franny is in charge of them all. So let's come up with a focus phrase to remember this pattern. So something we could say to remind ourselves is we could say, I use a comma and a fanboy to join 2 sentences. And so here's a visual reminder. Sentence, comma, and sentence. So these are some examples of our fanboys. And one way to remember fanboys is that each of those first letters stand for a different conjunction. So we have for, connects a problem with a solution, or a solution with a problem. And connects two ideas together. Nor is a negative form of or, but connects two ideas that go against each other. Or connects two choices, yet connects two ideas that go against each other, and so connects a problem with a result. So depending on the meaning of your sentence, you can use these different fanboys and conjunctions to really make your meaning clear for your reader. If you want some more examples of fanboys, feel free to pause the video here and read through some of these sentences from books that authors have used fanboys in. So let's keep going. Let's go even further and think a little more deeply about this. So read the sentences below and let's think. How are the two sentences alike or the same? And how are they different? It's just a little old house full of books, comma, and Miss Franny is in charge of them all. Okay, so we've already explored this sentence. Now let's take a look at this other sentence and see if you can find similarities and differences. Miss Franny was scared of Winn-Dixie, comma, but she gave him a pat on the head. So writers, I invite you to now pause the video and create your own chart on paper. How are the two sentences alike and how are they different? So an example, they both end in a period to show the end of the sentence. And then here's a sentence frame for you to use if you'd like to show how the two sentences are different. You might say the first sentence has blank, but the second sentence uses blank. So writers, go ahead and pause the video and take some time to write a few statements of how the sentences are alike and different. Okay, writers, let's see what you came up with. Some things that I noticed is that they both still use a comma and a fanboy, so that's the same, but they use a different fanboy. So thinking back, remember when we thought about the different types of fanboys, how they have different uses? And is joining two similar ideas, but when we use the word but, it's showing maybe a different idea. Miss Franny was scared of Winn-Dixie, but she gave him a pat on the head. So writers, think about the sentences we've been studying so far. I invite you to try to create your own sentence using our focus phrase. So our focus phrase was, I use a comma and a fanboy to join two sentences. And here's our visual reminder. Sentence, comma, and sentence. So here's a hint. Remember, you're combining two complete sentences with a comma and a fanboy. So here's an example. The first sentence that my friend wrote said, I am a creative child. And then my friend also wrote, my mind thinks of drawing. So who or what is this about? I. And what is the verb? Am. In this sentence, who or what is it about? My mind. And what does my mind do? It thinks. So these are two complete sentences. So let's look and see how my friend combined them using a comma and a fanboy. I am a creative child, comma, and my mind thinks of drawing. So writers, I invite you to pause the video and give this a try. You might start with two complete sentences first, and then combine them with that comma and whichever fanboy you choose. Go ahead and pause and give that a try. Okay, writers, now that you've worked on combining two sentences using a comma and a fanboy, it's time to apply this to your own writing that you've been doing. So think, what did we learn from looking at the example sentences and from writing our own imitation sentences? And then go back through your writer's notebook and find places where you're able to apply the strategy. So you might combine two sentences using a fanboy and a comma. You might edit sentences that you combined that may need a comma or a fanboy. Or you might even create additional sentences in your piece where you combine two sentences using a fanboy and a comma. Thank you for working so hard on looking back at your writing, combining two complete sentences using a comma and a fanboy. I invite you to celebrate your hard work by sharing your sentence or sentences you created, or even the revision that you've done in your own writing with someone at home or your teacher. Writers write to an audience, and so think, who else can you share your writing with? You can call a friend and read your writing to them. You can even read your sentences to somebody at home, a family member, a stuffy, a pet. You can read your writing. You can even record yourself reading your piece and even listen to yourself or send that to a teacher or a friend. So writers, thank you for working so hard on your piece. Feel free to go back and rewatch any of the videos if you need to give yourself some reminders or to go back and practice things that may have been tricky for you. Thank you for all your hard work. Happy writing!